Welcome to this online presentation on fire safety in residential care premises. Now, this presentation is for all employers, managers, occupiers and owners of permanently staffed premises providing residential care where some or all of the residents might require assistance in the event of a fire. For example, where the residents may not be able to make their own way to a place of total safety unaided. Now, typical residential premises include those where care is provided for. You've got the elderly or infirm, children and young persons, people with special needs such as those with learning difficulties or with mental or physical disabilities, and people with addictions. Now, what's the objectives of this presentation? Well, I am going to cover the basic principles of fire safety legislation, big emphasis on general fire precautions in your workplace. We're going to go through the procedures in the event of a fire. I'm also going to cover the nature and hazards of fire. How does a fire spread in a building? And finally, we're going to go through a practical use of extinguishers. I'm going to do a demonstration of how you use fire extinguishers. They are the objectives of this online presentation. Now, before we start the presentation, I want to show you a few photos to see if you can see anything wrong with these issues, because these are the sort of things we're going to address. Anything wrong with that? Anything wrong with that? Anything wrong with that? Now, every year the fire brigade attend nearly 500,000 fires, about 18,000 to 19,000 people are injured and 650 people are killed in fires every year. But where do people die in fires? Where do they die? I'll tell you where they die: in their own houses. Have you all got smoke alarms in your houses? Do you test them? Every week, give it a push the button, test them. When you burn the toast, don't moan about it, give it a waft and do not take out the batteries. And did you also know that the fire brigade will come out and fit smoke alarms free of charge in your houses if you haven't got them? Get smoke alarms fitted in your houses. That's where most people die. And they also attend a lot of false alarms. Do you have a lot of false alarms in your workplace? Do you? I'll tell you what the most common false alarm is: this: toasters. In my 15 years in the fire brigade, I must have saved about 47 loaves of bread. We turn up all excited, we get out, there's you there with a piece of toast. Sorry, mate. Try and cut down the number of false alarms in your workplace. For one example, with toasters, empty the crumbs at the bottom. After a month, there's a loaf of bread at the bottom of that toaster. Empty the crumbs. Human behaviour in fires. How do people react in fire? I don't know if you remember. Can you remember the Bradford Stadium fire? Again, that was about 25 years ago. Now, the problem with the Bradford Stadium fire was it was due to poor housekeeping, litter. The fire started, but people didn't react initially, and a lot of the time they didn't react because they didn't realise they were in danger. People don't die in fires because they panic, they generally die because they don't react to the initial alarm. Now, where would you have gone? There's a fire in the stadium, where would you have gone? On the picture down the turnstiles. 57 people went down the turnstiles the way they came in, they were chained up. 57 people died in the Bradford Stadium fire because the managers locked them in, they chained them up. Yet nobody called a fire brigade. There's no fire procedures to call a fire brigade. The fire brigade would listen to it on the radio. Fire brigade rang them up and said, "Is there a fire at the stadium?" That's what happened, the Bradford Stadium fire. King's Cross fire, similar thing. 31 people died, 600 people went to hospital with severe smoke inhalation. A lot of that is down to human behaviour, how people react in their circumstances. Have you ever been on the London Underground, on the tube? Yeah, you're not allowed to smile, are you? Yeah, if you smile, you're happy. You're on drugs, are you? Walking around the thinking he's on. No one smiles. I go to London, laptop, briefcase, suit on. All I'm looking for is muggers. You can see him looking at me thinking he's got a laptop there. I wonder how fast he can run. And I'm thinking faster than you, matey boy. You go on the tube, you smell armpits, don't you? You look around. Oh, she's nice. She looks back at you, look away. No eye contact. If you set off a fire alarm on an underground station, would you hear the fire alarm go off? Would you? No. Why? Remote alarms. The remote alarms, why do they do that? Because they're scared of panic. If you set off a fire on a tube station, it went off, people would panic. That's what they perceive, and they would die in the crush. Now, you put those same people in a supermarket and the fire alarm goes off, what do they do? Supermarket, walking around the trolleys, the fire alarm goes off, what do they do? Most people just ignore, carry on shopping. Fire brigade turn up, they go, "Oh look, the firemen are here." Do you understand? Human behaviour in fires. Again, how do you react in your workplace when a fire alarm goes off? What do you think? Do you think there's a fire and people are going to die? Or do you go, who's done that then? No, don't call anybody, we'll go check. Someone must have burnt the toast. That's the problem with fire alarms going off, is when people don't react. In your industry, you must always consider it to be a real fire until you confirm it's a false alarm. Do not consider it to be a false alarm until you confirm it's a fire. Do you understand the difference? What are the main responsibilities of employees in relation to fire safety? Well, you must comply with all the health and safety policies. You must have been given all the health and safety policies, and that includes the fire policy. You must comply with all the health and safety policies. You must attend these training courses and understand the requirements, particularly for fire safety. You've got to know the procedures. You've got to know them. I went to a care home, I said, where are the night staff? 2 girls put their hands up. I just said to one of them, what would you do if the alarm went off? She says, I don't know. I says, well, where do you go when the alarm goes off? She says, I don't know. I went to the second one. What would you do if the fire alarm went off? She says, I don't know. That's why I'm on a fire course, mate. I says, yes, but how long have you been on duty for? 3 months. They've been on duty for 3 months. No one's even covered fire training. You must receive induction training before you start duty.